Welcome to Ballsy, the podcast where I interview successful artists and creators on how they got the balls to sell their art and turn their practice into a profitable business. As a former entrepreneur turned artist, I realized that being an artist is basically like running a small startup. And you, the artist, are the CEO. I talk to artists about their businesses, talk real numbers, growth hacks, tools and tricks, and how they were ballsy enough to make that their career.
Welcome to Ballsy, for those who have the balls to sell some art. Today we're talking to Dot. What do you go by? Department of Transportation? Do you go by your real name? How do you want to be addressed?
It's actually not Department of Transportation, it's Department of Transformation.
Oh, so transformation. That's even better.
That's a logo that actual departments of transportation use, but I grabbed it, stole it, made it my own thing. It was a little brand play. But I go by Dot, D-O-T.
Yeah, okay. Do you ever go, what's your real name, or do you want to keep it just Dot?
My first name is Daniel.
Okay, Dan. All right, I will call you Dot. So just to give a start, first and foremost, let's just describe your work real quick. You do really cool. I'll let you do it. First, start by saying what your Instagram is so people can see it. If they're watching along, there'll be a link in the bottom as well. But give us a little background of your work aesthetically, and then how you got into art.
Sure, yeah. My Instagram handle is can't stop dot. And yeah, my style, I've coined this signature hand-generated like visual interference style. It plays into like early op art movements and has little elements of abstract expressionism to it. Very linear, very geometric, but meanwhile also has this kind of like organic movement to it. I'm super fascinated with optical illusions. I think there's like something in the thought of what is actually real, what's actually in reality versus what we can perceive. So I like to play on that in my art making.
Yeah, visually, they have a lot for static work. They have a lot of motion, like your eye kind of tricks them, and I think they're really cool.
Exactly. You also asked, oh, go ahead.
No, keep going.
No, I was just circling back. You also asked how I got my start making art. I moved to California to pursue a master's degree and went through those steps. And in that process, was able to explore myself more in California and with the people around. And I've always made art for myself personally. And I was inspired to take that a step further in terms of the production of it. And I just got natural interest from the community, and not digital community, not in the locale, but nationally.
And I always like to figure out, like, so you're doing your job, you're doing your music stuff, the art's starting to go well. When did you get your first couple sales? And at what point did you have the confidence to be, I might be able to pull this off as a job?
Just to backtrack a little bit, just to clarify, the music thing was in Chicago, and I moved to California to pursue a master's degree. So while I was living in LA, after I had left that Chicago music space, I was just studying. I was just studying graduate school. And then while I was and then just a little bit more in depth on that, so some more context. While I was still in graduate school, I had transitioned to doing like production jobs, art installs for like Insomniac and other festivals, where we would design these like immersive, interactive experiences. But that never really felt very fulfilling in terms of the art making process. And it was always more stress than reward, it felt like. And so the pandemic hit. And so because of the pandemic, the production jobs ended and dried up. And so in that 9-month to 1 year period, I was able to look inside and use that studio space that I had to really dive into making my own artwork. Yeah, I'm actually grateful to that moment because it freed up a big chunk of my schedule that I was able to develop into the style that I'm in now. But I'm sorry, what was the original question? I'm on a tangent there.
Oh, no, it's good. I love this. So for you, it was COVID forced you into art full time.
It's not that it forced me into art full time. It freed up my schedule. It's not those early, year or half year of COVID, I wasn't making any money from my art. I was just like, in all essences, just taking my studio time in my own art making process more seriously because I had so much more free time, essentially from getting my industry that I was working in, had no job, no work at all. And so it was sheer because I had free time.
And so it's now COVID. You're developing your series of work. You're starting getting in there. Where were you selling it? Like, I guess, where were you selling your work?
Yeah.
I assume like all of us, but what was how did your career progress now that you've decided to focus and dive in and chew in on it?
Yeah, it was honestly one thing at a time. I was lucky enough to have some savings from the work that I was doing prior, and I leaned into spending my own money, investing my own money into producing artwork. And so I slowly just would make one thing and then post about it on Instagram and get some interest, and just one commission kind of would happen, and then some time would go by, another commission would happen, and it's built into murals. I did my first mural in Chicago, actually. I flew back to Chicago where I lived for a while, and did a mural in a mural block, a mural project called the Beeline. That mural really actually opened the whole market to me in terms of work, like mural artwork. People saw what I did on that square, on that space there, and they wanted it on their wall. And so from that, I've been able to bounce between commission work and for like paintings and studio pieces, and then larger mural projects.
So you found it was doing that big scale installation that is a catalyst to more work.
Absolutely. And also that mural block that I did the mural on had a lot of eyes on it because of just the significance it was restoring to that area. That was actually that block, or that it's called the Beeline, which was a historical like a mural gallery from like the early 70s, I believe. I'm not sure on the facts on that, but LeVar Horde, who runs that project, took it upon himself to create that space and allow artists like myself to express there. But that wall actually wasn't even, it was the biggest thing I had done to that point, but I think it was only like 15 by 15 feet. So not as big as some of the other murals I've done since then.
All right. So we're going to get to all this and how you do it. So
Yeah.
Like I said, try to break this down. As artists, we're CEOs of our own little companies, right? We're in charge of everything, production, marketing, sales, advertising, like we do it all. So I try to like frame this and the questions kind of in the context of selling art. So I start with like revenue and sales. So how much work do you actually make? Are you putting out a lot of work? Do you put out a ton of paintings, not so many? What's your production like?
So I am currently, in terms of commissions, on my books are closed situation. I don't like to overproduce pieces. My pieces are very labor intensive and extremely detailed. And I'm actually in production right now on 8 brand new pieces for a upcoming show in Chicago on December 9th. But
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you very much. It's not a solo show. It's part of a group show, but it's still amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I like to produce work all the time, regardless of whether it's being commissioned or not. I feel like it's important to constantly be pushing the envelope of what I'm making and developing my style, and obviously taking it to a higher level. But yeah, I like to work within what I know that I'm being allocated for, if that makes sense.
So you're not like ridiculously prolific. You're making a couple pieces a month, that type of thing.
Exactly.
Correct. Okay. And just for this point of reference, like price point wise?
The price points of my pieces are, it's a per inch price. It varies because, yes, per square inch. And so I price everything per square inch. Go ahead.
I do per square foot. I like the per square inch. I hadn't heard of that before.
The square inch is nice because it opens the door, because, some people want an 18 by 24 panel in their house or in their hallway or wherever in their studio. Some people want 80 by 80 inch massive wall piece. And so I like to be able to be more detailed in the pricing on that. The price per square inch varies based on the style. Yep.